Welcome to the Gus Alva Perspective, a videocast that is earmarked to embrace gratitude and abundance over the mindset of fear and scarcity. The topic that I'd like to touch on today is purging ourselves of deleterious things. Think about this. This is a really important thing because purging, oftentimes, in the medical perspective, particularly in the psychiatric setting, is oftentimes driven by thoughts of eating disorders, whether that be bulimia or other conditions like anorexia, in which people may purge and actually evoke self harm through that purging process. This videocast, however, is going to refer to purging as the act of getting rid of harmful or detrimental elements in our lives. Now, this could include physical, emotional, or mental baggage that we don't necessarily need to carry. So, the point here that I'd like to touch on is a process of cleansing and removing negative influences that can help us in promoting personal growth. This also will help us have a better sense of well being and a healthier overall lifestyle. Now, let's start with physical purging. And no, I'm not talking about actually, purging ourselves of excess food like the Romans of old would do in vomitariums after having imbibed in, say, a bacchanal or otherwise. What I'm referring to is decluttering and organizing our physical space. Now, think about this. When we get rid of unnecessary belongings and we create a more minimalist or orderly setting, that helps us out in a great way. This, by the way, oftentimes will involve our study space, our workspace, even our closets. There are people that you can hire that will help declutter your life. And I've seen, again, many people speak about the experience of having a professional declutterer come about. I was speaking with my tailor, and he was talking about maybe coming over and checking out my closet and saying, hey, you know what, you should get rid of that outfit or this one, particularly if you've not necessarily worn something that has been sitting there for a long time. And it makes a lot of sense, right? When we can declutter our physical space, that'll actually help us out a lot. Another area that's really important is that of emotional purging. When we release pent up emotions and negative feelings, that is cleansing for our souls. This can be achieved through therapy. And, that's why it's so important to know of resources that exist in the community. But it could also involve talking to a trusted friend or even engaging in activities that help us process and express our emotions in a healthy manner. I'm a big, strong advocate of that. I oftentimes will speak with patients about the importance of psychotherapeutic endeavors. And as a physician, I know that there's a clear value associated with medicines, but when you tie in both medications as well as psychotherapy in, say, a condition like major depressive disorder, you ultimately see a boosted benefit from both modalities. Now, let's take a look at social purging. Sometimes it's essential to distance ourselves from toxic relationships or even friendships that have a detrimental impact in our well being. I think that we've all experienced scenarios like that. It's sometimes very difficult to do that, though. If we surround ourselves with supportive and positive individuals, that will contribute to our personal growth. The flip side of that is that somebody can become an emotional vampire and drain us of the life energy that we hold dearly. So it's important that we obviously keep that in mind. So when we think of habits, this is also another very important area where we might be able to purge. So breaking free from harmful habits, that includes substance abuse, excessive screen times, unhealthy eating patterns. This is part of the purging process. And ultimately, it's so critical that we keep this in mind because if we replace these habits with healthier alternatives, they can be transformative. In other videocasts, we've talked about the benefits associated with routines, with exercise, with good things, good activities that can help us greatly. Overall, however, purging ourselves of deleterious things is a gradual and ongoing process. It requires self awareness, determination, and patience. Now, one very important thing is that, as stated, additionally seeking professional help or guidance from a therapist or a counselor can certainly be valuable when people are facing great degrees of difficulty. And I'll oftentimes ascribe that people do so. Now, this helps with navigating a journey that helps people with achieving lasting positive change. And ultimately, our mindset of gratitude and abundance should certainly be tied in with the healthy things that we can embrace and adapt and adopt in our lives that ultimately will get us to the spot where we want to be. I thank you for joining us today on the Gus Alva perspective and dealing with this topic of purging ourselves of things that we don't need. Thank you very much for joining us.